Welcome all, and we start our first lecture on importance of post-harvest handling and in minimizing post-harvest losses. So this program, of course, thanks to organizers, this course under Gyan initiation. That's our theme for this one is sustainable approaches in post-harvest handling and value addition of fresh produce. Particularly this topic, mainly we're starting here what is the food losses, when we say the post-harvest losses and what are the different approaches we can go to reduce that one. That is a quite important one. Before coming to the topic content, so just to brief about from where I came, actually I come from Sultan Qaboos University, Oman. The university, one of the public university from the Oman and one top university from the Middle East area. Middle East area you consider here the area with a desert, okay? So very less agricultural land, and whatever they limited and weather condition is harsh. So protection, prevention of fruit product is quite important there. And we have the group we call here post-harvest technology and value addition research group where we're working there. So it's not we can say the 6-7 people working on that one where I am leading for that group, and one of the leading group from the Middle East part where we publishing, and one book you may see there because we have recently book on that area as well. That's a sustainable approaches in post-harvest handling and management. So we work in the different area of post-harvest, considering post-harvest handling, drying approach, different drying approaches, non-destructive techniques to check the food quality, value addition, and even in more detailing towards the non-destructive and cold plasma. So different approaches related to post-harvest. Whenever we get the opportunity to preserve the product, we're working on that one. So continue to back to our session again. So when we say what is the chances where we can minimize the food losses. So outline for one here, we start from the fresh produce, then post-harvest handling chain, and coming up to the what may be our different strategy. Because when you see the outline, what we know one thing about losses is there. And when your young researchers are there, we know the problem, we looking forward for the solution. What will be our strategy, how we can reduce the losses throughout the value chain. Now, from the agriculture side, one thing is clear here. When we talk about the post-harvest losses, is starting from the farm, and we say it's a whole chain and it to the consumer at the end. And whenever there are the losses, we need to see the opportunity where we can reduce or minimize that losses. Particularly as a recent lifestyle, people are more aware about their health. Okay, that's the reason we want good quality food product to eat. And that's the reason when the consumer, when we go to the market, we look the fruit quality. If it's good, its shape is good, smell is good, ripeness is good, appearance is good, all the factors we check. And whatever the nutritional things, what we expected from the fruits or vegetable, it is expected to be there. Okay, and recent trend actually, because when you see the last 10 to 15 years, the awareness is too higher, and that's the reason. Another side we say, before it was a dream in India actually. If you go 15 years back, selling the fruits and vegetables in the supermarket, in the mall with the air condition, mostly the trends was that it's in the streets, harsh weather condition, they sell, people will take that one. But the scenario changed because consumer approach changed. People are more aware their health. Okay, and what we consider here, at the same time, as a population increasing, but at the same time there is a worldwide production of fruits and vegetables also increasing, and it was tended around 20% rise in the fruits and vegetables compared to the previous time. And when about fresh produce, particularly fruits and vegetables, is like a quite different than the whatever approaches in handling. Okay, why? Every fruits have their different requirement. Okay, because if you consider if it's a banana or apple, we cannot treat them at the same way. Their handling, their transportation, their packages, everything is different. And particularly the approaches, the processing approaches, what we look here, it changes from product to product. Even not only product to product, even variety to variety, it changes. If you consider the apple, what we're getting from the Kashmir or apple getting from Australia, they require a little bit different treatment or different processing approach. So idea with our post-harvest handling complete chain to preserve the product, extend the shelf life, but at the same time, what is important here, not to compromise the quality of the product. So that's maybe the final approach whenever we talk about when we apply our post-harvest handling chain. Okay, so now that's a typical one. Okay, nothing changed in that one. That's a typical post-harvest supply chain. From we start from the farm where we harvest fresh produce, any kind of fresh produce, and then supply chain is throughout. Actually, it may be how selection of product as per our requirement. We base on selection, grading, sorting, packaging is there, transportation is there, storing for if there is a no demand in the market, we need to store for transportation, and finally it comes to the market, to the consumer. If you consider that long post-harvest value chain, typical value chain, get the product damaged at every time. There is a chances product may damage get in the farm, product get in the pack house where we are storing for longer period with different storage condition. During transportation, even the storing, and even the market level. So there are chances our product may get damaged. So sometimes we need to see the approach, what kind of approaches we need to check there. Sometimes preservation methods, sometimes handling approaches. So as per the requirement, we can look for the what may be our strategy to reduce that one. For example, if we getting the apple from here, mostly we can say it coming from Himachal or Kashmir, and I believe it is a distance not less than 1500 kilometers, and transportation typically in our parts is maybe road transport. So when the product reaching from the road transport, it may be completely get damaged if they not look for the proper transportation, proper packaging, and how even the human behavior in terms how the driver driving the truck or trailer. So that all the factors may be considered here damaging one. Or if you storing that one, if there is a particularly if you see in the market, sometimes we get the apple from Australia or US or another market, and now we can come here one thing, the apple maybe they store it for 6 months, and after 6 months it's coming to the market here with a similar condition. Even we cannot able to identify that's a fresh apple or 6 months old apple with the improvement of the technology for this one. So now we can all deal here in the post-harvest chain from the farm to the market. Market means you can consider our consumer level, because at the end, who are the end user for that product? That's we as a consumer, because all the approaches, all the techniques is for that one. At the end, it product reach to the consumer, it's supposed to be good quality without compromising. So another trend here, why the losses is quite important to estimate this one. What is the estimate now? Now our population around 7 billion. And when we come here by 2050, a population growing by more than 9 billion. Of course, when there is a population higher, they require more food. One approach maybe increase the production, but at the same time we are aware that one we are losing arable land due to urbanization or other factors, even the climate change. When you have less land and your population is quite high, and at the same time when we wasting the product or due to post-harvest damage, it means we are wasting the resources as well. Because now we say there is an innovation from different aspects from the agriculture side, even the biotech, other approaches to improve the production, increase the production. But when we getting the production, we using a lot of resources, and at the end we get a final yield, final product, and we're not protecting that one. So indirectly we are wasting all that resources, and that's maybe we need to think for that one as well. When with the post-harvest approach we are using, we are also keeping that resources in the same way. And the magnitude wide you can see here, that may be terms, those who read about post-harvest things, you always come here, the worldwide around 1/3 produce never reach to the consumer. We see the whole post-harvest value chain, and that product may be damaged in some parts. It will never reach, and 1/3 is like an estimation, and if you see the developing world, it may be go up to 50 to 60% losses. So 1/3 population, and then it comes here, the number they give here, 1.3 billion tons the product, okay, 1.3 billion tons of the product. And now you can consider here what is the magnitude of that one. This magnitude, if they save 1% from that one, they can feed whole African continent for a year. That is the big magnitude of that one. So when we see the number 1/3, what nothing, but the magnitude is too high for this one, and they can feed 1.6 billion people. And but now you see here how much money wise, monetary side, they're losing is more, approximately 940 billion per year. And now you see the number, that one, okay, if you take top 500 fortune companies, the profit of that one, all 500, is less than that one. So just to get the idea, when we talk about post-harvest, how big magnitude for that one, and what is the potential for this one. If we save 2% losses, 1 to 2% losses from this one, we able to feed whole African continent. And money wise, because we all talk about 500 top companies, Apple, Amazon, or something, that top 500 companies profit is less than that one, means is quite high for this post-harvest one. And at the same time, we have post-harvest losses, means food losses from farm to the consumer side, and at the same time there was another things, food insecurity. There is a population, they not get enough food. Even, okay, African continent news we always said, but sometimes even from India we read that news. People not get sufficient food to eat, and that one about the food security. And now we are coming with a new term that we call the nutritional security, because at the same time we talk here, the people supposed to get the food what their human body requires, that nutrition is supposed to be there, that's a fulfill their requirement, what the daily requirement there. So concerning with this one, all that one, to reduce the food insecurity, reduce the losses, and maybe the food losses, maybe the means reduce the food losses, maybe the well answer for that such questions actually. So it may help here to get for the food security. At the same time, people may get the food with what they desiring for this one, and and the losses, the approaches, strategy from the what supposed to be approaches we use in the farm side itself, what approaches we supposed to use in the transportation, what approaches supposed to be in the handling side, and mostly the losses what we see here, this may be improper practices in the throughout the value chain, and that's a common, because particularly if you have the food background and you can see in the market how the people handle the food. Sometimes we see the food in the one trailer, they mix different fruits in the one trailer, transportation is not proper, sometimes packaging is tear packages, sometimes boxes were filled. So all that things they do during uh, food handling. And now the picture actually, because it's something similar approaches, similar things what we see in the India as well. Sometimes how they handle the product, how they keeping here, because now when I see in the outside in the market, because we in the supermarket, different countries, different parts, India is one of the largest producer of the banana. Okay, and it's not about the quality of the product is less, but when it reaches to the market, they're not able to pay the price what supposed to get. Because suppose I work in the UK, South Africa, or Ireland, and different supermarkets, whenever Indian products comes there, the price is almost 20 to 30% lesser, even for the banana. The quality what we say, the banana coming from Philippines or Ecuador, is a little different, a little bit higher than the banana coming from the Indian one. And sometimes the losses, the ignorance, particularly in that one, all stakeholders, they contributed towards the losses. Sometimes the losses from the farmer side, sometimes from the trader, sometimes from the processor, or from the handler. So different stakeholders who is contributing for that the losses. And another part here, because we may aware that because we are the technical side people, okay, we can advocate based on our technical expertise to reduce that one. But at the same time, there may be one parallel things what they require, one what we say, train the people, particularly in the post-harvest side, who is involved in that, particularly post-harvest value chain. It may be farmer, because he know how to produce, but he don't have the technical knowledge how to preserve that one, how to maintain the quality of that product. In the similar way, the for processor, for transporters, or for the traders. So everyone have their role, their contribution towards that losses particularly. And what's our idea here? It's supposed to overcome. It's supposed to opposite to that one. And developing what another issue when we say one third losses of post harvest, and particularly in developing world, sometimes it goes more than 60%, 70% losses. They never reach. There are some reasons, even the infrastructure, weather conditions, because it requires some resources, some investment for this one, and that is also some concern here. And that's why in developing world, the losses for post-harvest side is always higher actually. Okay, and then probably that is a commonly term actually. Sometimes in the post-harvest losses, we come in the two ways actually. One is the qualitative and quantitative. And for the qualitative losses, what we consider here in Indian market, what we see the approach in the supermarket, we go there, we see the product. Suppose good apple, he keep the 2-3 different categories of fruits. Apple, suppose, and he say, okay, this is 200, this is 150, this is 100, and he give the opportunity to consumer actually to select based on that one. So once there is a degradation in the quality of the product, ultimately they will reduce the price of the product some way, because it's not suitable for the consumption, they need to discard. So both ways like a monetary loss. Sometimes it's like a landfilling of product, and when the quality reduction in the product by fetching, suppose good apple supposed to sell by 200 rupee kg, and they are forced to sell by less than 100, or sometimes discard as a landfills. So both way is a loss of the product. In developing world there was, but when we see the developing part, that's again directly is goes to the landfill, the waste of the product. Okay. So now when we come here, the summarizing post-harvest lesson and the approaches and things here, what we see here, if in the post-harvest value chain, what we one thing is there, we always mention always mention one thing, the product is supposed to be grade and sort properly. Okay, there are reasons as a consumer what they expect when we getting the box of apple, supposed to be similar maturity, similar size, similar color. That's what I expected. Because the issue here, sometimes we not keep in the same maturity, same ripeness. Some product may be ripe earlier, some late, and due to this one, the product we not want to keep it, sell it faster with the ripeness. It may also get the issues and damaging the product. So first one, what we see here, when we not able to sort the product, and sometimes the product due to damage due to handling, we call it bruising. Okay, so chances are there when we transporting, like for example, you consider when we transporting the one product from north part of India to the Chennai, or from Chennai to northern parts of India, if product get damaged initially, then that bruises may increase and it's a chance to grow the microorganisms easily in that part. If the container, it may be chances get a damage whole container. If the product we are exporting from the country to another country, like for example from the ship, from port, if it's European market, it may take more than 2 weeks during the transportation. If your product already damaged in the box, what will happen? All the box may be get damaged and product may be rejected at the end level. So rough and excessive handling, because the people, if not properly handled, maybe sometimes box may fall down when we're arranging the stacks, not properly stacked. So bottom product may be experience excessive load and that may be get damaged. Sometimes your package may be get teared up. And one thing again in the developing part, probably that may be the some where they require more investment, particular storage condition, because every product we get here, every product have their specific requirement for temperature management. Like for example, if it's a tomato, we cannot store tomato at the refrigerated condition. We still keep the practice, we keep in the refrigerator, but that's not optimal temperature to keep the tomato. Okay, so for example, that the best temperature what we aware that tomato is about 10 degrees Celsius, and in the refrigerator, what in the refrigeration chamber is around 4 degrees Celsius. Similar way, if it's apple, 4 degrees. If it's orange, they have different requirement. If banana, around 13 to 14 degrees Celsius. Every product have different requirement for temperature and humidity when we store the product for long-term storage and long-term transportation. If it is not maintained properly, we not expect the product shelf life is extended or maintain the quality. And what is the another scenario in the market? What we see about still in India, mostly fruits and vegetables what we selling here on the street. So the concern to protect or manage the temperature is quite long away. Only now in some areas where they are able to maintain temperature with local approaches, even the evaporative cooling chamber and things they are using for this one. Then improper transportation practice. Improper, what I mean here, sometimes some products releasing ethylene, like for example banana or mango. If we store the product with another one which is sensitive to ethylene, what will the another product may get damaged or not making that desirable quality. Even the cushioning for now you get here like a product like a strawberry, which may be quite delicate. Okay, and if we roughly handle or transporting roughly, it may get damaged very faster. So that is also need to check here. And the packaging. So all that one which is leading towards the losses, and we can see the consequences what will happen. Of course, reduced marketability means we need to sell the product at lower prices, product quality, because darkening and damaging it will happen. The nutritional part now, it may be come from the proteins, solids, soluble solids, or even the off flavor that may be we can expect from that product. Another one, like always for the consumer side, the weight of the product, because if it's a product is damaged during that, but it will loses the moisture very fast. So indirectly, the sellable weight for the product get reduced. So that also concern here. And if the damage is little higher, means if we have the product, it will fall down, it get damaged today, because the damage is not appear instantly. Okay, it may take some products from 24 hours to 72 hours to see this one. And when our consignment in the product we are transporting, or we are keeping the damaged product, after 72 hours it may be getting to visible and starting the damaging though. So there is a chances to get that initial mechanical damage, it may be increment for the bruising, so it may be get bigger damage one. And now for this one, because always we come in the solution side and concern side, one is the always we talk about the management of the temperature. And if you consider the post-harvest studies, the temperature management always plays a critical role. So the concern sometimes here, at what stages we are preserving the product, for how much period we like to keep the product. And as we aware now little bit that every product, every fresh product, because biological material is a little bit difficult to maintain, because it changes with the product to product, variety to variety, as well as their maturity stages. Okay, with their maturity stages. And the consumer, what they're looking for, that one at the end, it's supposed to be maintained throughout storing period. Then we have coming after this one the cold chain. That's a concept now everyone coming in that one, that horticulture product, particularly fruits and vegetable, we used to use the concept of cold chain. And of course it requires quite huge investment, and at the same time some studies they try to use some local approaches, even some use the local market like a gunny bag spraying water, evaporative cooling. But from long term, if you expecting the products to send to the international market, they need to come here, how the approach will come with cold chain one. So of course the cold chain, whenever we say the temperature management, particularly viewing from the storage, even your transportation vehicle is a maintained with optimized one. And recent trend is that one, when we cold chain, we're looking here, it's not about the temperature management now using of AI, IoT, that's supposed to, okay, if the temperature is increased, that may be indicated directly, okay, we expect a temperature for apple storage supposed to be 4 degrees Celsius throughout the journey from similar to the Chennai, and the temperature is not maintained, so it will get an indication directly with the IoT help. Okay, the sensor is not working, or what's supposed to be our approach to maintain that one. And so even if it's again what we when we say to give the example of tomato, that tomato we're not supposed to, because commonly we store that tomato in the refrigerator, and where most in the refrigerator side the temperature what we maintain around 4 degree 5 degrees Celsius, and that is a 10 degrees Celsius. If we keep it for longer period, what we expect is a chilling injury for the product. And if it is excess, that will expect high respiration, high transpiration, and high ethylene release one. So both way is not good, even the quite high, quite low. So we need to go with the optimal condition one, because banana is the best example actually. When we say, when we keep the banana from outside and with a high respiration, high transpiration, and high release of ethylene 1. If it's once released the ethylene 1, we cannot maintain or cannot storage the product for longer period, because after that one with the stages, it's coming the stage of ripening to the last stage of the synthesis, means product is supposed to be discarded. So whatever, because all the post-harvest approaches, if you go in the more detailing, we can find here we need to do with the optimized maturity stages. Once the product getting ripening one, with maybe naturally with our artificial way ripening one, we cannot control now that condition. Then this link, even the whole chain, what we say the transport and transportation, what we still up to now, what we feel that's a very critical one, but most ignored in the post-harvest value chain. People, what they concern here, they produce the quality product, but after that, if you consider here, because in the still in India we have varieties of product, but different region. If you talk about apple, if you talk about our banana from the sometimes Maharashtra, sometimes from the Kerala, even mango from different parts, and that's exchanging or transporting product from one place to another place. And what we rely on up to now commonly is a road transport, okay, road transport. And if you consider the trailer, what they're using for that one is not up to that mark. I still, what we have the experience up to now, maybe less than 10% transportation, like they are equipped with proper proper vehicle to transport the product. Otherwise, their approach just how to normal boxes, keeping sometimes the boxes even the sharp edge, because storing product is sometimes challenging. If we consider the boxes coming from sometimes plastic containers, sometimes our corrugated one and wooden one, and sometimes they just have the bulk fruits they keep in the vehicle to transport that one. And now consider here with the road condition, our parts maintaining the high speed, and the approaches are different here, sometimes due to vibration. Even if we in the humpy road, if we sit in the car, we experience that vibration. Now if the product is there, it experience this one. Experience with the time period after 24 hours get damaging one. Sometimes it's the fruit to fruit collision, sometimes fruit to wall collision. That all things will be there. And then particularly the maturity stage is always we keep in this one. If it's not in the same maturity level we transport it, some product get, because of the vibration, the respiration, transpiration will be extended, even the release one, and some products may get early ripening. Okay, that is not expected. And now what that ripening is the one issue always. If in the one box, one banana get a ripe one, it releases ethylene. Now it accelerates the ethylene process for the other product. So your whole box or sometimes whole container maybe get a ripe one. So our idea here, we can sending the proper maturity product to the destination. So after that it may go to the consumer, and the ripening stage they may do as per the market requirement. But now here forced to them to sell it as soon as product is there, or sometimes may product may get damaged even. Then proper packaging, proper handling, and the packages in our case, not our case actually, I can say, is worldwide. Packaging is still worldwide. Now you consider here the post-harvest product, as before I mentioned, they using different types of packaging. It may be corrugated, plastic, or sometimes wooden. And the challenging here, there is no regulation how to make your package. Okay, that's in the packaging industry, fruit packaging industry, particularly boxes one. There is a no thumb rule. The processor, the industry person, they make their packages how they want. Okay, and why am I talking this one? Fruits and vegetables is like a living thing, and they respires. Okay, when they respires, they require O2, they release CO2. Accumulation of CO2 also not good here. Whatever accumulation is there, we need to take that out. Otherwise, it may accumulate CO2. What will happen there? They'll accumulate the heat. If the product get damaged, it may heat up, release the water. Even you can see that the temperature spot there, temperature requirement. So that excess CO2 and excess heat, we need to take it out. That's why we can see the fruit packages, that corrugated one, have some holes. We call this ventilated holes actually. Just the idea here, whatever that excess heat and CO2, accumulated CO2, it may go out from that one. But now the challenge here always there, how much, where, that all things will be there actually. And so that will be the one strategy for now. You are the young researchers here. One thing to get here, what may be the optimum, how much ventilation is supposed to be there for different product, and what location, because it may not compromise the strength of the package as well. So that is also linked with the packaging and the packages we use in the transportation. And so here some studies, what we found here in African, what we did, due to transportation, approximately 20% losses due to only transportation one, which is the ignored part. One thing what we see in the transportation side, what type of product we are keeping, and during transportation, even the cold things, and the cold air, when we passing from the product, it comes out through the product, cooling down the product, taking the excess heat from the product, and they make layer the ventilation properly, and the temperature, when we looking for that one, idea here always supposed to be excess, not to get excess vibration to the product. So next stage, the transportation, where we link more to the packaging. We supposed to have the proper packaging. That's a similar way before. If we consider 10 years back or 15 years back, our car seat and how we getting nowadays to release from the jerk or something, even the tractor, because how the seat they used to have. And in again the transportation, another thing is important here. Probably you see the trailer when they keep the product at what location, at the bottom layer, middle layer, or top layer, in the rear side, back side, where we keeping, and how we fill that vehicle. So all the factors is important here, the transportation side. And at the same time, some parts maybe as a researcher we can expect, but some parts not. For example, road condition. If it's expressway, we know the road condition, but it's a farm level side. What about a road condition? Then the approach from the driver. So sometimes nowadays the companies who is retailing in this one, they have tracking, so they maintain the vehicle speed. If you traveling with the fruits and vegetables, you supposed to maintain that much speed throughout their journey. If it's higher than that one, that is also not expected. Ignores from that one. And what is the shock absorption? Then we come with the package. Now we can see here different packages. If you ask someone working, some researchers, they may work on the packaging side, because there are a lot of benefits from packaging. protection, preservation, display, and lot of things. And what we're looking here when we're keeping the product, it's supposed to be safe here, and the purpose of preservation is supposed to be solved with the help of packaging. And we can see here the last one, the corrugated one, where we see the small holes sometimes when we say the product respires and things. And the corrugated one, the challenging with the corrugated one again. First one I said about the ventilation. Now it's a paper-based material. It's a paper-based material. And at the same time, when we're dealing with the fresh fruits and vegetables, we like to store it in a lower temperature and high humidity. So paper-based material means it's absorbing the moisture indirectly. When it's absorbing moisture, strength of the package will go down. So that is the some challenging part here. So okay, that's the problem we're discussing here, but we need to look for the solution. And how much? Then different packages, plastic, that's small punnets. From the strawberry, they are looking for this one. Sometimes we can experience this one when we're doing the packages. If they want the cushioning at one side, bottom side, top side, or whole package, because two things always need to check here in the packaging side. What the industry want? Industry want here the product supposed to be safe, but at the same time at minimum cost. That's another one the food industry want. They want solution, but the cost supposed to be not high. When we say we want the cushioning means more packaging, but at the same time their idea here the cost supposed to be minimal. So we look for something optimized solution to come in this way. We proper packaging with optimized condition one. But the most common in the local market, that's the plastic crates and the wooden one. But in the both cases, the challenge here, it has a sharp edges, and the sideline product always get damaged easily. So different approaches we may come in the solution side where we can think for this. And particularly all that handling from the farm to reaching to the consumer are whole our idea here. We want to reduce or minimize the losses, because it's like a dreaming thing. When I say we can go up to the whatever 30%, we not. That's the reality, this one. But up to certain percentage where we can protect the product, we can reduce the product. Okay. So of course the farmer side, what we challenging here, they may get little better money from the all the stakeholders, farmer, processor, traders, everyone is involving there. Less landfill, better utilization of the product, and getting good quality product towards the food security, nutritional security, and at the same time social development goal UN1 we can achieve with the help to reducing food loss. And what again good part with this one, if we have the approach techniques to reduce, now because we just are getting some ideas here, some products still we get a seasonal, okay, like a lychee we cannot get whole year, okay, and like some may be aware about custard apple, okay, it's a seasonal product. And like for example, we have the apple we get whole year, if not from India we get from outside. Banana we get whole year. The availability of product is completely, but maximum research side if you check is happening on apple, happening on banana. If you consider for the lychee, it's a limited area product, but there is not that much research on this one where we can keep the product for. Or the custard apple. Custard apple when the season is like a, they sell it very low prices, because when and I was there outside, when I check the prices you consider 10 times higher than here. But the idea with that, such we know the shelf life of that product is quite low. We cannot keep the product for longer. But when we look for the research side, the idea from like a you new young generation researcher, how we can extend the shelf life of such product. It may be packaging size, storage types, to where we can extend that one, or we can harvest at proper maturity that maybe keep the product for longer. So that may what will happening here. First one, of course, income will be increased, but at the same time for consumers, the window will be increased, so they may get a product for longer period. Okay, then the approach here for the when we say the environmental benefits side, of course it may be reduced waste because we have much utilization from the product, so landfill supposed to be less in this case, so less waste, less landfill. Okay, and whatever the resources we are using to producing the product, at the same time we are preventing these losses here. And all that one SDG goals towards the food security, poverty reduction, reducing hunger, ultimately link towards our means ultimately link our sustainability and reducing the food losses. Particularly the UN goal 12.3 is specifically mentioned about the importance of reducing the post-harvest losses. Then we come in the overall idea here, what's the problem, how it's happening. But once we know the problem, as a researcher side, we come to know here what may be our strategy now. So that's what we're looking here. Okay, because everyone doing here master, PhD, and once you did your research, you coming some output. What we expected something where we in some area where we can contribute to reduce that losses. Sometimes maybe it's like we are with a different techniques, packaging side, storing side, or in a whole chain, maybe some parts where we contribute as a researcher. So, but with the approaching this way, firstly, once we can come the completely idea here, what's the problem? So that's why what we come here, the strategy, particularly we must aware for the product we are dealing. Okay, it's like what type of fruits is a climatic, non-climatic, or at the same time how it's handling. It may be get damaged easily, not because in this part even some fruits actually what I read some articles from this one, even the wood apple or elephant apple. So we aware this one, this product is quite hard actually, it's not easily damaged with the transportation or things. So what type of product we are looking for, what's our target? Are we looking here for locally selling this one, making for the industry to make some new product, or transporting area where we are looking, and what's our target? Then even from the storage side, that is always important, what's our optimum storage condition we are keeping, for how much period, short period, long period. Storage and transportation is a distance, means it's a country wise, inside, outside, proper temperature control with the adequate aeration. Now why we require aeration, that's maybe getting ideas here. Product respires, so excess heat supposed to be CO2 is supposed to be go out. That's why they always come here, they're supposed to have proper air circulation system in the storage as well as the transportation. Okay, at the same time with temperature, with a product which require high humidity with a low temperature, that's supposed to maintain, particularly some root vegetable, they're looking for the high humidity side. But cold chain, now that the concept we are hearing from long period, but now in the cold chain, now the idea here they link with AI, IoT, particularly the industry 4 approach. This is supposed to be Internet of Things that link with this one. They will indicate directly at the same time using the artificial intelligence for this site, and that may be helping here whenever you looking for the trailer or faker. It's like a monitor completely and sensing properly. Then the success, particularly getting the product at the end with a good quality one, how we using the transportation, that's why I'm telling this one. But the starting point in the whole case, the selection of the product. Okay, the maturity for probably those are from the agriculture background, you probably aware about this one, that the different growth stages of the product, from the growth, maturation, ripening, and sensing. So particularly at what level, because what's your consumer demand? You cannot go, if you want to send your product for the international market, it takes 2 weeks to transport, and you go for late maturity. So you need to select particularly with that idea as one, where your specific consumer one, and at the same time, suppose we are selling the product from, we harvested the product, sometimes banana from the Maharashtra, and want to sell in the Orissa. It may require 2 days to reach here. If they have the facility ripening one, if not, what about this one? They go for the late maturity and send a product. So based on that one, you need this one, what is the maturity, proper maturity we are harvested. And again, when we go for the late maturity of the product, one thing is that product become soft, that's towards the ripening stages. And transportation also is like issues again, the vibration and things. And it may be not only changing the appearance side, what we say color, texture, but at nutritional changes also, a lot of nutritional changes also inside one. And particularly that's the one ideal condition they consider, but sometimes it's not practical. Like what we say, the transit time supposed to be less. But one thing what they consider here, when they said transit time, as soon as we harvested the product, the post harvest your approaches supposed to deal as soon as possible, not to delay in this one. Because if we consider, there was one study actually, what they consider here, if we, after harvesting the product, if we delay for 6 hour product, you are losing its shelf life for 1 week. Particularly is the considering the storage life, not for the is particularly apple and things. So you need to like a pre-cooling, the farm level, the sorting you can do as soon as possible, not to dealing this one. And improper packaging and stacking arrangement, because this is something what we are telling is something not new, because you may seen this one in the market, how they arranging, how they handling, how they arranging the stacks. Because whenever we see in the market line, because we also visited, sometimes they arranging and suddenly we found the bottom box is tear up, the product may completely come out. So this is supposed to be, all things supposed to be implement, checking properly and continuously from this one. Nowadays everyone, because recent advancement, like when I say the sensing technology, but now that sensors is more linked with the IoT. Nowadays everyone talking this one, and that is the area where we can implement easily Internet of Things to monitor all parameters, at the same time maintain and control throughout the whole transport line. Now some studies actually what we say, okay, we using the packages, they may get damaged. Sometimes when we stacking, sometimes fruit falling. As a research level, what our approach, sometimes we do in the practical side, but at the same time, there was one what I say simulated study. So in the lab base, we can do some simulated, means mimicking the real world transportation, real world dropping, real world transportation. That's a mimicking in the lab level, and then based on that one, you can use your more engineering, like modeling approaches, to solve that issue. You may use finite element one, even the CFD one, all that approaches to solve that one, and the optimized solution probably in the long term. And probably as the engineering students, maybe they have the idea why we use the simulation, because making such studies as a research level, all in the field, many things, time consuming, resources, lot of resources. But once you get in the simulated what, or sometimes trans simulated, some real, some simulated. Then for packaging material, we advocating for the number of packaging material, but one of the best one is like what may be the locally available solution, but how best we can use from that one. That's always looking for the packaging side. But packaging side always come in that one when we look for the solution. One thing is clear here: the package supposed to have the protection. So when the product is vibrating, suppose when I say the simulated, so just to get idea here, when we're driving the truck by 120 kilometer or 80 kilometers, 60 kilometers, we get the threshold. We get the threshold for this one, and that maybe we can utilize properly. Similar way, the packaging, what type of cushioning, up to what layer, 2-layer package, 3-layer package, that's all with the simulation we get the idea, and then we can implement, and then we have comparing their studies. Just idea here to get minimum damage for the product. Then now we have the control storage, and probably those who are aware about control storage, they are still India we are using, but not up to that level. The apple, initially when I say one thing, that's we get sometimes the apple from the Australia maybe 6 months old, or even up to 1 year. Because with the control storage, that's a very good concept here. By maintaining, modifying and maintaining the air composition, what we able to do for some products, we can protect the product for a year. But that's the apple one. Some apple variety they store up to a year, means when we say that there is a no, sometimes we go market and we never see there is no apple in the market, sometimes local, sometimes outsides. Like in our case, we get a seasonal apple from the Kashmir or Himachal from limited period, but sometimes the Australian we get whole year, because they have the apple coming not fresh with a control storage one. And we even it's difficult to see as a consumer that's a 6-month-old apple. It looks like the same way. Okay, not because they maintain all the condition this way. And some studies, particularly some products still they're doing on, like a pomegranate also we can extend up to 3 months. For strawberry it may go up to month. Okay, but some products, what we say, some Indian products specifically, where the more study is required, but still we can see here not much documented in that way in the modified control storage one. Then packaging one, packaging, every product required different types of packaging. 2-3 years back, what we see in the market for the custard, but at least in the custard nowadays we can see sometimes in the market they try to keep some individual wrapping or individual packaging, paper packaging. But now they looking here the cushioning material is a low cost at the same time, because industries, one thing, your best solution they will not accept sometimes. You can come here very best solution, but at the same time the cost, because their profit margin, and if the food product, if it's a high cost or low cost, but always they want the cost supposed to minimize. So when we using more cushioning, means it increase the cost. Increase the cost for the package itself. Package is bigger, you can keep lower boxes in the transportation, lower boxes in the storage, so it may increase longer times. Then what type of insulation is locally available, cheaper? So all the option, all the alternative, we need to check for this one. And the containers, one thing what we make here, clean, smooth and ventilated. Ventilated containers is the concept where we have the openings. Okay, they have the openings for the product. And clean and smooth, because sometimes they use the reusable container. Okay, First time they transport one consignment, second time also. The challenge here, some products may be damaged in initial stage. They are still there when we're using for the next. So that's supposed to be clean here and smooth edges. Sharp edges supposed to be avoided during the transportation side. So this is overall what we say here, different strategies towards post-harvest handling transportation for the product. And like as a researcher, we do in the lab scale experimentation, and what may be the possibility we can make it upper scale, because what in the lab scale, what we do in the very small experiment, that's the possibility we need. For the quality control or quality maintaining, particularly AI, like imaging, spectroscopy, advanced technology that maybe we come in some session after this one. People expect that one because they want to reduce the interference of the human being, particularly when we're talking about the quality of the product. So now we can see in the research side, in the particularly fresh produce, lot of studies based on image processing, different imaging actually, hyperspectral NRI or different imaging, as well as spectroscopy, because ultimately now the research with the engineering, when it's coming the AI and we need to implement, and industry, there are two things probably you heard about. They call it industry 4, okay, new regulation in the AI. Industry 4 where we are applying, and industry 4 parallelly it goes as a food 4, okay, food 4, and that may be integrated with AI, Internet of Home, digital twins, all the approaches together to prevent the food products. Okay. So this what we approaches, the strategies, and even more detailing actually, because what we say is very brief one, but in our coming session we may check in the more deep all the sessions here. So now the summarize, when we come here, this one we consider here when we're talking about the post-harvest handling from starting to the end, there is a lot of places where chances of get the product damage, but at the same time, as a researcher side, what we expect here, where we have the possibility, what approaches, what opportunity for us to maintain and look the opportunity to reduce that losses, all about the post-harvest. And some products are sensitive, so we are not to take care of all the factors, all the parameters to maintain this one. Okay, that's our group here from the post-harvest chain. So I just come here with this one. So now we'll come in this one, and probably I will now like to discuss some your ideas, concept, your queries regarding this one. So I will stop with the lecture now with this one. Yes, please. Food 4. Yeah, food 4. The like industry 4. Okay, it coming like when we using particular, now is the one stage of AI. We are using AI, Internet of Things, and digital twins in this one. Okay, so this is a new approach, particularly we are using this one. Okay, so it's a number 4 actually. Particularly there is a challenge with this one, but what type of cushioning material? Now what you thinking that one, we are keeping something so it will blocking here, so we're not talking, but sometimes the cushioning which coming with different way, sometimes individual fruits actually, because we need to maintain this one, we cannot block that openings. Okay, so we have different approaches in the cushioning, not only the just layering that one. Particularly sometimes there is a like a foam type material, that's individual one that we can use with the individual product, but with a small one, then Particularly in the cushioning ones, another things what they do, the bottom side of the package, they give the directly cushioning on that one. So the vibration from the bottom side it may stop. So that way factors actually, but it completely depends what type of product we are using this one. If it's like custard apple things, for maybe we prefer maybe individual packaging rather than this one. But if like apple or something, maybe it's better just we have the layer of cushioning material where we can put the product, then again layer, but the layer maybe when we arrange the packaging should not block your ventilation. That's a possibility with this one. Probably your question, you want ripening methods or we can want to preserve before ripening? Uh, no, after ripening is a quite challenging task, okay, after ripening. Because the product after ripening now, once it ripening, now if you try to prevent this one, it may be give undesirable changes in the product after ripening one. To challenge here, you try to get a strategy to preserve your product before going to the ripening one. It's not something we cannot delete after ripening, but the challenge here, lot of undesirable changes that is not expected with the product, it will happen. Particularly what the temperature we are keeping for the custard apple. Probably we expect quite high that temperature, because it's like ambient conditions 25 is quite high one. Two things we come with what is the optimum storage temperature, because that's maybe I suggest you for the are you doing PhD or master? Okay, so I suggest you to not to go with only one temperature. So you combine with the at least minimum 3 temperature to 4 temperature, but ambient condition it may be higher. Okay, that's sure. So then the optimizing one low temperature, because I still feel is a fruit sensitive. The quite low temperature may be not work for that custard apple. It may go again undesirable one. But above 10 degrees Celsius, it may be come in this one, and also link with the maturity stage, at what level we are harvesting the product. That may be approach need to use this one. So you get a ethylene release is higher when you do the coating, because my concern here with the temperature, main concern with your storage condition is the temperature particularly. No, I concern here actually, because now in the coating what we happening here, you are reducing the respiration from the product and as well as the transpiration of the product, transpiration. But the ethylene release is like an internal one, okay? Internal one is linked with more to the ripening stage. But at the end, actually, so one thing you can get here, because you are all researchers, okay? Sometimes you are looking for research question, research problem, research solution. So think little bit that way actually, as you are working in that, what's supposed to be our ideas, what's supposed to be our problem, and how we are looking toward the solution side. It may be product may be changing here, and is that implementing in our side or not? That's another. But the concept idea is the similar way it goes. Particularly, what we considering here when we transportation side particularly is more towards the mathematical one. What we are doing with the finite element one, we are mimicking the product in the small finite one. What will happen? The product will drop something here. It will not damage from all sides. It may be damaged from particular one side. When we use the finite element, we use a simulation condition. The product in the simulation, that finite element model, it will drop something here, and we able to identify which location. So just mimicking with the real one with the modeling side, and then it is helping you to make the better solution. It may be for packaging as well as for the fruit directly. Okay, then thank you all.